You don't need to listen closely or stay focused. Just get comfortable and let this quiet day in ancient Rome fade gently into the background. The city rests beneath a sky that has not yet fully released the night. Silence spreads across the stone structures, though this silence carries a particular quality. It is not complete absence, but rather a kind of restraint. The sounds that belong to daily life have been absorbed into the walls, into the narrow passages between buildings. They seem to wait there, holding themselves in temporary suspension. Coolness and dampness fill the air where the streets run narrow. The upper levels of the tall residential buildings, the insulae, remain untouched by any approaching light. Only above, in the broad expanse of sky, does color begin its gradual transformation. The change moves without urgency. It unfolds as a process the city has witnessed countless times before. Within one of these upper levels, inside a room that is both small and unadorned, a body begins its movement toward consciousness. This waking does not arrive suddenly. The eyes remain closed for now. Before they open, there is a pause at the threshold that separates sleep from the waking world. This threshold presents itself in the same way each morning. No thoughts form yet, and no plans take shape. There is only the pull of habit. The body has learned to recognize time without external markers. No clock exists here, and no voice calls out. The day makes itself known simply by existing. The surface where the body has rested sits low and firm. Its hardness is not uncomfortable, because familiarity has developed over time. The body has adapted its shape to match this firmness. A slight shift occurs, a turn to one side, followed by a slow rise into sitting position. The walls stand close in this narrow space. Every movement must account for the limited room available. Few possessions occupy the space, but each one holds a known location. Clothing remains folded in one corner, or perhaps hangs from a peg. A few personal items rest in another spot. These arrangements have persisted for years without alteration. Change has not occurred because no need for it has emerged. When the body stands fully upright, coldness from the floor travels upward through the soles of the feet. This sensation arrives as something familiar, serving as confirmation that the day has truly begun. One hand reaches out briefly, finding balance against the nearby wall. The eyes have already grown accustomed to the dimness that fills the room. Through the narrow opening that serves as a window, no light enters yet. Only the presence of the world outside can be sensed. The selection of clothing requires no deliberation. Which garments will be worn has already been determined by routine. They exist for daily use, plain in appearance, and built to endure. The tunic is drawn over the head and settled into place. A belt is tied around the waist. This belt serves multiple purposes beyond simply holding the garment in position. It carries the day's small burdens, perhaps a pouch or a simple tool. The shoes are examined where they were placed the previous night. Their soles remain firm, suited to the demands of the streets below. A small amount of water is used to wipe the face and hands. Water holds value here, and its use is measured carefully. The concept of cleanliness in this place does not extend beyond necessity. Anything exceeding that becomes luxury. This brief preparation suffices to fully wake the body. Nothing more is needed. The room itself holds quiet, but the building does not share this stillness. From somewhere below comes the sound of a door being opened, followed by the sense of someone beginning their descent down the stairway. Sound moves through this structure differently than it would through other materials. Stone does not absorb what it receives. Instead, it carries sound along its surfaces, allowing it to travel freely. Every noise passes through the building, and this fact is understood by all who live here. For this reason, unnecessary sound is avoided. During these early morning hours, particular care is taken. Movement turns toward the door, followed by a pause before it is opened. This pause does not result from conscious thought. It has become habit. The darkness outside is expected. When the door finally opens, a brief connection forms between the enclosed room and the street beyond. cold air pushes inward, and suddenly the room becomes part of the larger city. The stairway is narrow and the individual steps show signs of long use. Each foot seems to understand where it should fall. One hand stays near the wall for guidance. As the descent continues, the quality of the air begins to shift. Scents from the street grow more distinct with each step downward. Smoke, stone, and the smell of waste that has gathered during the night hours all become noticeable. These scents do not register as unpleasant, they are simply familiar. Upon stepping into the street, the city has not yet fully begun its daily activity, though it has not stopped either. A few people are already in motion, those who rise before most others. The bakeries have already begun their work, their ovens having burned throughout the night without rest. The smell of bread has started to move through the streets, spreading outward. This scent serves as one of the most dependable signals that the day has truly started. The walk begins with a pace that settles somewhere between slow and fast. The street surfaces are uneven, and the stones carry a slickness that must be accounted for. The eyes remain mostly directed toward the ground, though awareness of the surroundings continues. A cart might pass at any moment. An animal might cross the path. Warnings do not always announce themselves through sound. Sometimes they arrive only through movement, through changes in the patterns of shadow and light. During this early hour, the city reveals itself more clearly. The crowds have not yet formed. Individual structures stand out with greater definition. Tall walls, the substantial mass of temples and large public buildings remain wrapped in shadow, yet their presence makes itself felt regardless. The roads bend their paths around these structures. No one passes too closely to them. This too represents learned behavior. A brief stop occurs for a simple transaction. Bread is taken, money is offered in exchange. Eye contact is made between buyer and seller, but words are not necessary. Everyone understands what is taking place. These hours are not suited for extended discussion. The exchange concludes and the walk resumes. There is no retracing of steps. The same route is not followed twice when it can be avoided. The movements made at the beginning of the day are designed to avoid the congestion that will arrive later. For this reason, directions shift and change. The mind does not perform conscious calculation, the body simply knows. The light continues to increase its presence. The sky opens further. The sun has not yet reached down into the streets themselves, but it has begun to touch the higher points of the city's structures. This becomes noticeable. The color that lives in the stone begins to change. The cold that filled the air begins to ease. The city, slowly and steadily, raises its voice. Somewhere in the distance, metal strikes against metal. From elsewhere comes the sound of an animal. The individual sounds multiply and layer themselves, yet chaos does not form. This too is the result of habit. After a period of time has passed, the city completes its transition into its morning state. More people appear in the streets. The spaces begin to fill with movement. Navigation becomes more cautious, more deliberate. Sometimes it becomes necessary to stop, to wait, to allow passage to others. These actions form natural parts of the morning routine. At this point in the day, the experience is no longer individual. It has become something that belongs to the city as a whole. The individual merges into the crowd. No one observes this transformation in any special way. There is no need to observe it. Life continues to move forward in this manner. As the crowd grows denser, the sound of the streets becomes layered in complex ways. Individual noises no longer stand apart. They are replaced by a continuous flow of sound, footsteps, fragments of conversation, the short and sudden sounds made by animals, all mixed together, yet not in complete disorder. The city has grown accustomed to carrying this density of activity. People have grown accustomed to it as well. Everyone makes small adjustments while walking. Shoulders turn slightly to one side. Steps shorten or lengthen as needed. Glances lift briefly before returning to the ground. These adjustments occur without conscious thought. They are not taught through instruction. They settle into the body through daily repetition, through countless mornings spent navigating these same spaces. The streets no longer serve only as places of passage. They have also become places where work is performed. Some shops have fully opened by now. Shutters are lifted upward, and stalls are positioned in front of doorways. Goods are arranged for display. Hands move with practiced efficiency. Bodies bend downward and straighten upward again. Things are carried from one place to another. All of this activity happens in the street itself. The interiors of these shops are too narrow to contain all of this work, so it spills outward into the public space. This does not trouble anyone. The street is meant to accommodate this. While walking, it sometimes becomes necessary to stop. A cart passes directly in front, or perhaps two people engaged in conversation narrow the available space. These pauses are brief. Impatience is not displayed. Impatience serves no useful purpose in this environment. Waiting is understood as part of the process of moving forward. Everyone knows this. While waiting, the surroundings are observed. Faces are not studied with intensity, but clothing is noticed. It becomes clear which people are in a hurry and which people have time to spare. This is not a conscious act of observation. The mind sorts these details on its own. After a certain point is reached, direction changes and a wider street is entered. This street carries more people, but it also carries greater order. Large buildings line the edges of streets like this one. Their presence serves to guide movement. People walk by, orienting themselves in relation to these structures. Glances directed at them are brief, but the influence these buildings exert is lasting. Here, the level of sound is slightly higher. The echo behaves differently. Stone surfaces return the sound in different patterns. As the walk continues along this street, the main purpose of the day becomes clearer in the mind. The preparations of the morning now lie behind. The movement is toward the middle portion of the day. There is work that must be completed, a place that must be reached, a responsibility that must be fulfilled. This responsibility is not always heavy in nature, but it is constant. This constancy is the reason why days come to resemble one another so closely. An entrance is made into a courtyard space. It is quieter than the street outside. The air inside feels different from the air in the open street. The sun has not yet fully reached this enclosed space. The stone remains cool to the touch. A few people are already present here. Some wait, some speak to one another. Conversations are kept low. Everyone knows why they have come to this place. No explanation is needed. Time moves differently within this courtyard. The speed of the street slows noticeably. Waiting begins. While waiting, posture shifts gradually. Weight moves from one leg to the other. Hands rest on the belt or hang at the sides. Gazes fix themselves in one place or drift into empty space. Waiting itself is an action for those who have learned patience. After some time has passed, movement begins again. One enters further inside or takes a place where a particular task is carried out. The work done here differs from the earlier walk. It requires less physical movement and more focused attention. There are conversations that must take place. Listening is required. Sometimes responding becomes necessary. Sometimes simply being present suffices. Presence alone is enough. Not everything needs to be active in nature. As the hours pass, the body registers their passage. Standing becomes more difficult, though fatigue has not yet fully arrived. Only an added weight makes itself felt. This weight is familiar from previous days. It signals that the middle portion of the day is drawing near. When stepping back outside into the street, the sun has now reached down into the spaces between buildings. Shadows have grown shorter. The light carries more harshness. The stones have absorbed warmth. The air grows heavier in quality. This change affects the movement of everyone in the street. Steps slow by a slight degree. Conversations shorten in length. With the arrival of the sun, patience is tested, though no one speaks this aloud. At a certain point, there is a stop. by the edge of a wall, perhaps. In the shadow cast by a column, this stance differs from the preparations of the morning. It carries more deliberation. The body has made known its need for rest. This need is accepted without resistance. A short pause is taken. Sitting is not always possible in these spaces. One remains standing. The shade alone is enough. In this moment, the surroundings are perceived with greater clarity. Faces become visible. Foreheads show dampness from sweat. Heat shimmers visibly on stone surfaces. The city, in this state, moves more slowly, yet it continues its work. No one stops completely. Only the tempo lowers itself. This slowing represents a natural part of the day's progression. It is a transition to the next stage. The movement of the morning now lies behind. Noon is approaching. The day is not over, but its direction has become clear. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, the warmth radiating from the stone becomes more pronounced. The coolness of the morning has been left fully behind, and the city begins to make this felt in the bodies moving through it. From the surface of the streets, a slow warmth spreads upward, traveling through the soles of the feet. This warmth does not burn, but it is constant and unavoidable in its presence. People notice it, but do not pause to consider it. Movements adjust themselves accordingly. Steps grow slightly shorter in length. Shoulders loosen from their earlier tension. Breathing becomes more regular in its rhythm. Along with the city, the body adapts itself to the middle of the day. Shadows have shortened to their minimum length. The corners that offered refuge in the morning are no longer sufficient at this hour. The search for shade becomes more deliberate in nature. The direction of walls, the placement of columns, the narrow, cool spaces formed by the mass of large structures are noticed and evaluated. These places were known before, but now they are more valuable. People drift toward them instinctively, without planning. The streets do not empty completely, but the flow of movement slows noticeably. The crowd remains in the streets, only now moving with greater heaviness. Sounds also undergo change at this hour. The quick, sharp noises of the morning give way to sounds that are longer and duller in quality. Conversations do not lengthen, but their tone drops lower. There is no need to raise one's voice above others. No one wants to expend that energy. Energy is conserved carefully. Markets continue to function, but bargaining decreases in frequency. Decisions are made more quickly than before. No one wants to remain long under the direct sun. After a while, direction turns toward narrower streets. These areas are cooler by nature. Tall buildings block the light from reaching the ground. The air here is heavier, but more bearable to breathe. Coolness circulates between the walls, allowing the body to find some ease. Those moving through these streets are usually locals who know the area. Outsiders remain on the main roads at this hour. The rhythm of narrow streets must be known to navigate them properly. As the walk continues, the body's fatigue slowly makes itself known. This fatigue does not arrive suddenly. It is accumulated gradually. It is felt in the calves, behind the knees, in the shoulders. It is accepted as expected at this point in the day. It is anticipated. No one tries to hide it, but no one gives in to it either. The day has only reached its midpoint. A pause is made in front of the door. This pause differs from those of the morning. It lasts longer. Before entering, there is a brief period of waiting. Those inside must be ready to receive. During this waiting, the body finds rest. Hands remain on the belt or hang at the sides. The back leans against the wall for support. Stone cools the spine. This coolness is temporary, but it is sufficient. When entering the interior space, the air feels heavier. Enclosed spaces carry a different quality at this hour. Light is limited in its reach. Shadow dominates most surfaces. Conversations here move more slowly than outside. The work that must be done requires less physical effort and more sustained attention. Sitting becomes possible. When seated, the body experiences a brief relief. This relief does not transform into full relaxation. It is simply the feeling that the load has been slightly redistributed across the body. The time spent here extends itself. There is no counting of hours. Time is measured by the flow of the work being done. Sometimes there is a pause in the activity. Sometimes conversation fills the silence. Sometimes only rest occurs. This interval serves as a transition between the movement of the morning and the stillness of noon. The city experiences this transition as well in its own way. When stepping outside again, the light is harsher than before. The eyes narrow briefly in response. The street is felt again, but no longer as it was experienced in the morning. At this hour, the street feels heavier in its presence. People change direction less often than they did earlier. Movements are more direct. There is no unnecessary wandering. Everyone wants to reach the next shaded place as soon as possible. Passing by a fountain, the sound of water becomes audible. The sound is refreshing, even without touching the water itself. There is no lingering here. Access to water is not always possible. Even when it is, there may be a line of people waiting. For this reason, the sound alone is enough. Water soothes simply by existing nearby. At a certain point, sitting becomes possible. A stone step, a low wall, the base of a column all offer this possibility. When seated, the body now makes its need for rest more clearly known. Legs are not stretched out fully. The knees remain slightly bent. Hands rest on the knees. The eyes may close halfway. This is not sleep, it is rest. The city is still felt all around. Sounds still arrive from various directions, but the body gives them less importance than before. During this time, the surroundings are perceived in greater detail. The sound of someone's shoes striking the stone, an animal passing through the street, the distant strike of a hammer against metal. These are noticed one by one, but they do not form themselves into a whole picture. The mind is free from demands. It is not strained. Thoughts are heavy and slow in their movement. They do not come and go quickly. As noon approaches more closely, movement shifts again. There is no complete stillness, but the tempo of the morning does not return either. This hour represents the exact middle of the day, neither beginning nor end. At this point, the city carries its own weight without assistance. After a while, standing occurs again. The movement is slow. The knees take support from the hands. The feet reacquaint themselves from the feeling of the ground. A few careful steps are taken. The body becomes ready to move again. Being ready here does not mean being strong. It means being adapted to what is required. The walk begins again, but it carries a different quality now. The purpose of the morning is gone. The afternoon has not yet arrived. This interval is the quietest yet most strongly felt time of the day. The passage of time becomes noticeable in a way it was not before. The city in this state is familiar as well. Every day this hour is lived through. Every day the same weight is felt. No one considers it special because it is not. It is simply life itself. After a while, the heat stabilizes itself. It no longer increases, but it does not lessen either. The city seems to have accepted this warmth as a condition of the day, and the people have accepted it as well. Movements are now shaped with this acceptance in mind. No one hurries forward. Hurrying serves no purpose at this hour of the day. It only increases the fatigue already present. For this reason, steps are more deliberate in their placement. Destinations are known. Unnecessary turns are avoided. During this part of the day, streets function less as places of passage and more as guiding lines. People move slowly along these lines, following paths they have followed many times before. A shade is no longer only a comfort to be sought. It has become a necessity. Walking close to walls is preferred by most. Colonnaded areas are full of people seeking relief. Even if one does not stop in these places, movement slows when passing through them. The coolness of stone passes into the body through proximity. This coolness is temporary, but it is enough to sustain continued movement. The city allows the body to remain standing through these small reliefs. No one wants to remain long under the direct sun. Those who do not want this do not need to say it aloud. Everyone wants the same thing. The faces encountered at this hour move less than they did earlier. The liveliness of the morning is gone completely, but exhaustion has not fully settled either. There is a sense of acceptance visible in the faces. Eyes are half open, glances are brief and do not linger. No one stares for long periods. Energy is conserved carefully. Conversations are kept short for this reason. A few words are enough to convey what is needed. Unnecessary detail is avoided. Some shops are completely closed at this hour. Others are only half open. Even if someone is inside, movement is limited to what is essential. Work continues, but at a slower pace than before. Tools are used less frequently. Hands move more heavily. Here, time melts into the work itself. No one follows a clock. There is no clock to follow. Time is measured by the signals the body gives, by the feeling of weight in the limbs. At some point, a courtyard is entered again. This courtyard has been passed through earlier in the day. In the morning it was more active. Now it is quieter. A few people sit on the edges. Some remain standing in small groups. Conversations are brief and broken by long pauses. Everyone shares this quiet. The silence is not uncomfortable. On the contrary, it is preserved intentionally. At this hour, silence has value that it did not have before. Time stretches itself here. No one is in a hurry to move forward. No one thinks they are keeping someone else waiting. Waiting is normal in this part of the day. The body can carry it without complaint. It is not like the morning. Now, waiting resembles rest, even when one remains standing. After a while, a slight stirring begins. It is not obvious, but it is felt by those who are paying attention. A few people stand up from where they were sitting. Some change direction. Sounds increase slightly in volume. This is a sign that the afternoon is approaching. The city does not announce it openly, but everyone understands the signal. The sun begins to tilt slowly toward the horizon. Shadows have not lengthened yet, but the angle of the light changes in ways that can be perceived. This change is noticeable. The brightness on the stone begins to fade. The air is still warm, but it has become more bearable. With this change, the body becomes a little more alert. Fatigue remains present, but movement becomes possible again with less effort. The pace of walking does not quicken noticeably, but it becomes more decisive in nature. The destination is clearer now in the mind. Tasks to be done in the afternoon come into awareness. They will not be as demanding as those of the morning, but they still require attention. At this stage of the day, the city is less forgiving of errors. Mistakes are felt more easily. As one moves from one street to another, sounds increase again in frequency, but this is not the dense crowd of the morning. They are more spaced out, more intermittent in their occurrence. People move alone or in pairs, rather than in larger groups. This is the time when the city breathes. Everyone finds their own pace. At a certain point, an open space appears again. In the morning it was crowded with activity. Now it is emptier. A few people stand in the center, while the edges are filled with those seeking shade. It is possible to stop here for a while, either standing or sitting. This pause marks the transition between noon and evening. During these moments, the city is perceived differently than it was earlier. The noise of the morning is remembered, but it feels distant now, like something from another day. Evening has not yet arrived. The present moment lies between two times. This interval allows for thought, but it does not force thinking. The mind remains free to wander. Thoughts pass slowly and do not cling to anything specific. The passing of someone nearby is noticed. Footsteps sound against the stone. The rustle of clothing is heard. A brief glance is exchanged. Then movement continues. These encounters leave no trace in memory, but they strengthen the feeling of the city. One knows they are not alone, but also not within the press of a crowd. After a while, direction changes again. A narrower street is chosen for the next portion of the walk. This street will be livelier toward evening. Now it is calm. Passing through it is easy. Shade is abundant. The air is cooler. The body feels grateful for this change. Steps are no longer as light as they were in the morning, but they are steady, not rhythmic, but natural. The ground is known from many previous walks. Where to step can be anticipated before the foot lands. This makes movement easier. A harmony with the city has been reached. During this time, the first signs of evening begin to appear. Lamps are not yet lit, but preparations are underway. Somewhere a wick is checked for readiness. Elsewhere a door is closed earlier than usual. These small movements show that the day is advancing toward its conclusion. No one says this out loud, but everyone is aware of the progression. Afternoon begins to settle in properly. The weight of the day has eased slightly. The body is capable of working again, though this work is different now from what it was earlier. It is less intense and more selective. The city supports this shift. Movements soften. Time becomes more flexible in how it is experienced. The afternoon does not arrive with a clear beginning. It does not announce itself with a sound or a visible sign. Instead, there is a subtle reorganization in the movement of the city. People find their direction again. The necessities of the morning are behind them. The heaviness of noon slowly dissolves. Between these two extremes, time flows with more attention but greater freedom. Bodies are still tired, but this fatigue is now familiar. It is known how to move with it, how to carry it. Streets begin to fill again, but this fullness is different from the morning. It does not stack and press as it did earlier. There are spaces between people as they move. They do not collide with one another. They pass alongside one another with room to spare. At this hour, everyone has turned back to their own tasks, but no one is rushing to complete them. Even if one hurried, the day would not stretch longer. The movement of the sun is clear and unchangeable. There is a sense that time is limited. This does not create panic, it simply sets priorities. A stop is made in front of a shop. It was passed earlier in the morning when there was no time to look inside. Now there is time. Even so, the glance is brief. The items inside are scanned quickly. Even if nothing is bought, information is gathered for later use. Prices, availability, movement of goods. This is how information circulates in the city. It is not written down. It is not spoken aloud. It is simply remembered. At a street corner, two people are talking. Their voices are low. As one passes by, the conversation does not stop. No one is disturbed. This is specific to this hour of the day. In the morning, the conversation would have been cut short. In the evening, it might have stretched longer. Now it continues exactly as it is. Time allows it. Steps are more balanced now. The tension of the morning is gone. The weight of noon has eased. At this point in the day, the body is at its most harmonious state. It is neither fully rested nor exhausted. Because of this, movement becomes more natural. Postures are more relaxed. Shoulders hang lower. The neck loosens. After a while, one enters the shadow of a large building. This shadow is longer now than it was at noon. The sun has begun to tilt noticeably. The color of the light has changed. It is softer in quality. The brightness on the stone fades gradually. This change is felt in the body as well. The heat is still present, but it no longer presses down. Breathing becomes easier. Work done at this hour is focused more on completion than on beginning new tasks. Finishing matters more than starting. Things left unfinished are gathered up and addressed. Conversations that were postponed are completed. Because of this, encounters are clearer. Speech is more direct. No one offers long explanations. Understanding is enough. An open area is crossed. A few children are playing there. They were not present in the morning. At noon, they were sleeping. Now they are here. Their movements are quick and energetic. For them, the day has not yet grown heavy. This liveliness does not clash with the slower pace of the adults nearby. No one stops them. These hours allow for it. An elderly person standing by a wall is noticed. They do not move. They simply watch the activity around them. This too is a natural part of the day. Not everyone needs to move constantly. The city carries stillness as well as movement. It could not do this in the morning. At noon, it struggled with it. Now it accepts it. As the walk continues, there is a brief pause by a fountain. Water is taken. Hands are washed in the cool water, not the face. This is enough. The coolness is short-lived but refreshing. The dampness remains on the skin for a while. This sensation accompanies the next portion of the walk. After a while, direction turns toward a more familiar neighborhood. This area was not very crowded in the morning, and it is not crowded now either. but it is livelier than before. People recognize one another here. Greetings are exchanged. There are no long conversations. A nod of the head is enough. Being recognized provides a sense of security here. In this neighborhood, time feels as though it moves more slowly. In reality, it moves at the same pace as everywhere else, but perception has changed. Noise is reduced, movement is more orderly. This stretches the sense of time. A few minutes feel longer than they would elsewhere. This feeling is not uncomfortable. A doorway is entered. This place is semi-public in nature, neither fully inside nor fully outside. A few people are present. One can sit or remain standing. Time spent here is not fixed. No one watches the hour. People come and go. There are conversations, but not all at once. Silence fills the spaces between them. This silence is not filled deliberately. No one is disturbed by it. Silence is accepted here. At this hour of the day, silence works. It rests the mind. After some time, the place is left behind. There is no longer a need to stay. The day has moved forward. Evening is slowly approaching. This approach is noticeable, but there is no darkness yet. Lamps are not lit, only the air has changed in quality. When stepping back into the street, the light has flattened. Long lines of shadow form along the walls. Shadows move as the sun continues its descent. People walk within these shadows. This walk is calmer than earlier. No one rushes because rushing no longer has meaning. At this point, the day has softened. The sharpness is gone. Neither the urgency of the morning nor the heaviness of noon remains. A more balanced time has taken their place. This time prepares the way for evening. Bodies know this. The city knows it too. The walk continues, now oriented toward homes, but without entering them yet. There is time in between. This time feels like the longest part of the day because there is anticipation. This anticipation is not tense. It simply makes itself felt. As the light slowly lowers itself, the city does not meet it with haste. As the angle of the sun changes, the color of the stone surfaces changes as well, becoming duller and softer in appearance. Edges that appeared sharp in the morning now seem less defined. Walls, columns, and arches no longer separate themselves with hard lines. They merge within the same heavy light. This merging is a sign that the city is loosening toward the end of the day. People notice this but do not dwell on it. The body is already adjusted accordingly. Steps are no longer shorter, but they are more balanced. The deliberate attention of the morning is gone, as is the heavy fatigue of noon. In their place is a familiar flow. This flow is neither fast nor slow. It simply continues without interruption. Movement remains in the streets, but its direction has changed. The one-way urgency of those heading to work in the morning is gone. People scatter in different directions. Some approach their homes. Some are still finishing tasks that remain. Some simply wander without clear purpose. This wandering is not aimless, but it is not clearly defined either. At this hour, movement fills time. No one does this consciously. The city offers this openness on its own. The pressure of the day has eased. The weight of evening has not yet arrived. This long space in between is the quietest and widest moment of the day. Sounds adapt to this sense of openness. The sharpness of the morning is gone. The stillness of noon has also dispersed. Conversations last longer now, but they are quieter in tone. People can pause somewhere and exchange a few more sentences. The content of these conversations does not change from earlier in the day. They are about everyday things. What happened today, not what will happen tomorrow. The future is heavy at this hour. The present is enough. It can be carried. For this reason, conversations remain anchored in the now. The faces encountered while walking begin to feel familiar. It is remembered that the same people were seen in the morning as well. This remembrance is not precise. It carries no certainty, but it creates a sense of familiarity. This feeling confirms that one is not alone in the city. At the same time, it does not create pressure. The crowd no longer weighs on the body. Everyone maintains their own boundary. Shoulders do not touch. Even if they do, it does not cause discomfort. At this hour, bodies are more flexible. While passing through a street, it is possible to see someone sitting in front of a house door. In the morning, this door was closed. At noon, it was silent. Now it is open. From inside come the smells of food being prepared. These smells mix together, but they are not unpleasant. Each is sensed briefly and then passes. Scent announces the approach of evening. Food may not yet be eaten, but preparation has begun. The city does this gradually. Nothing happens all at once. After a while, steps slow. This is not because of fatigue, but because the destination is no longer far away. As distance shortens, speed decreases. The body knows this. One does not hurry when approaching home. Home is not a goal to be reached, but a state to be entered. The body and the mind must be ready for it. This preparation is done through walking. The streets are part of this preparation. Shadow is now almost everywhere. The sun touches only the highest points of the tallest structures. Lower areas are cool. Stone slowly releases the heat it gathered during the day. This release is felt. The warmth beneath the feet lessens. Breathing becomes easier. With this change, shoulders drop slightly, arms swing more freely. The weight of the day is still present, but it has become carryable. At a certain point, there is no stopping, but the gaze lifts upward. The color of the sky has changed. It is no longer pale, it is deeper. This depth is the first sign of evening approaching. Darkness is still far away. Lamps are not lit. The streets rely on their own light, the remaining daylight. No one wants to give it up too quickly. These hours are brief, but no one counts them. Time is not measured. It is simply lived. Passing in front of a house, a sound comes from inside. The clatter of dishes, a conversation, perhaps a laugh. These sounds are brief, but they signal that life continues inside. The city is filled with these small interior worlds. As evening approaches, they become more noticeable. The street withdraws, the home comes forward. This transition happens quietly. The walk continues. Almost everything is familiar now. Even corners that felt unfamiliar in the morning are known. The day has tamed the space. The same stones, the same walls carry different meanings at different hours. Late afternoon is when these meanings are at their softest. Neither sharp nor uncertain, they simply exist. After a while, it becomes clearly felt that the day is turning toward evening. There is still no darkness, but the light has begun to retreat. People show this through their behavior. They stop less often, they speak less, but they move more deliberately. The direction of homes becomes clearer. Streets are no longer places of passage, but return paths. As the light fades, the city meets it with quiet. The sound of the day does not stop all at once. It slowly withdraws. First, the louder noises disappear, then brief conversations diminish, and finally, footsteps become more scattered. The streets are still populated, but movement now follows habit rather than purpose. People change direction less often. Everyone knows their way. Choices made many times throughout the day have become automatic. The roads leading home are familiar, and this familiarity eases the weight on the body. Shoulders lower slightly. Steps grow freer. As the end of the day approaches, the city asks not for attention, but for surrender. Doors close one by one. The sounds are not harsh, they are familiar. Wood meets stone, and then silence returns. Fewer shops remain open. Those that do are limited to serving those inside. The street is no longer a place of work. It is simply a place to pass through. Lamps have not fully been lit yet, but small lights appear in front of some homes. These lights do not illuminate the way, they simply announce presence. In this half-dark state, the street feels narrower but also safer. Movement is now predictable. A building comes into view, and there is a stop in front of it. This pause is not like the brief stops of the morning. It belongs to the end of the day. As the door opens, warm air flows outward. The interior, cool during the day, has changed with the evening. Stone walls have held the day's heat within themselves. This difference is felt immediately upon entering. The street is left behind, sounds soften. The flow of the outside dissolves indoors. The stairs are narrow again, now wrapped in a familiar darkness. The steps that were descended quickly in the morning are climbed slowly now. A hand may rest longer against the wall. There is no hurry as one ascends. The sounds of the street fade further with each step upward. Near the upper floors, the outside world nearly disappears. It is replaced by the building's inner sounds, the creak of wood, quiet murmurs, the distant sound of pots and lids. Upon entering the room, the door is closed behind, though it is not locked. Locking it is not necessary. At this hour, danger is not something that is considered. The order that exists inside has not been disturbed during the absence. It remains exactly as it was left in the morning. This order represents the return for the energy that was spent outside during the day. The small size of the room does not bother the body that enters it. On the contrary, the boundaries are clear and known. Where to stand and where to sit has been established long ago. This clarity brings rest. Dinner is either prepared or shared with others. The preparation does not take long. Ingredients are limited in variety, but they are sufficient. At this hour, eating is not treated as a ceremony. It is a continuation of the day's rhythm. It is eaten quietly. The sound of chewing can be heard. A few words may be exchanged between people, but there are no long conversations. The day has already been lived through. There is no need to recount what happened. Everyone knows their own day. No one tries to know the details of another's. After eating is finished, the room grows darker. A lamp is lit to counter this. The light it gives is yellow in color. Shadows spread themselves across the walls. These shadows are not disturbing to look at. They seem to widen the perceived space of the room. The difference between the darkness outside and the interior light lessens. Time slows its passage. Movements become heavier, more deliberate. Nothing unnecessary is done. Objects are returned to their designated places. The final small tasks of the day are completed one by one. They are not large tasks, but they matter because they form the foundation of order for the next morning. One sits for a while. Standing is no longer required. Sitting represents the final acceptance of the day's conclusion. In this posture, the body loosens further. The back leans against something solid. Feet rest without bearing weight. The mind no longer continuously monitors the surroundings for changes. Sound are not separated into distinct sources. Their presence is simply accepted as part of the environment. Sounds from within the building repeat like a lullaby. Someone walks on the floor above, someone speaks on the floor below. These sounds no longer draw active attention. The city is now distant. At a certain point, the last sounds from outside also fade away. The street becomes almost completely quiet. Occasionally, someone who is late passes by. Footsteps echo against the stone and then disappear into distance. This disappearance is noticed, but not followed with attention. The day is over now. There is nothing left to follow. The place for sleep is prepared. This preparation is brief and familiar. Clothes are folded and set aside carefully. They will be worn again when tomorrow comes. The covering on the floor is straightened. It is firm in texture but familiar to the body. The firmness no longer disturbs as it once might have. A body that has walked on stone throughout the entire day accepts it easily. When lying down, muscles slowly release their tension. Breathing becomes steady and regular. The mind does not hold on to the images of the day. They dissolve on their own without effort. The lamp is extinguished. The room returns to darkness. This darkness is not unfamiliar or frightening. It is simply the end of the day. Night is another state of the city, less visible than day, but more stable. Outside, Rome settles into the night. The same streets, the same walls stand with a different quality of silence. The city does not stop completely, but it slows its rhythm. It deepens. Sleep is not waited for. Sleep is the natural result of the day that has been lived. The eyes close. The body grows heavy. The sounds of outside are no longer heard. The sounds inside fade as well. The day loosens its hold here. There is no special ending and no formal closure. One part of an ongoing cycle has simply been completed. Night holds the city in its grasp. Morning will come again. This is not thought about. There is no longer time for thinking. There is only silence. As the night progresses, The city does not vanish completely, it only deepens its stillness. The empty spaces between stone walls fill with darkness, but this darkness is not entirely still. It carries small sounds within it, far away, a door closing slowly, a short echo from a misstep, an animal shifting in the cool of the night. These sounds are not perceived individually by those who sleep. Together they signal that the city is still alive but no longer showing itself. Sleep arrives in this environment. It is not summoned through will, it is not awaited with anticipation. The body now receives the return for every movement made during the day. Breathing slows its rhythm, muscles loosen their grip, thoughts unravel without pattern. Images of the day appear and vanish irregularly, not in proper sequence. None of them hold themselves in place because there is no longer a consciousness present to hold them. The city behaves in the same way. Everything that pressed itself forward during the day withdraws at night. Only structure remains. Walls, roads, doors, all remain in their place and do not move. Hours pass. But this passage is not felt by those who sleep. Darkness remains at the same density. At times, wind moves through the streets and slips inside if it finds an opening. This change in air is brief, but noticeable to sleeping bodies. Sleep deepens further. The body exists in harmony with the firm ground beneath it. Firmness is no longer an obstacle to rest. It is familiar. Softness is not sought or missed. Safety comes from habit, lying in the same place, remaining in the same darkness, hearing the same silence. These accompany sleep without interruption. In the later hours of night, the city nearly comes to a complete stop. There are those who keep watch, but they are quiet as well. Their presence is felt not through noise, but through its absence. They exist because nothing happens. This absence is a sign of order being maintained. Everyone knows this, but no one thinks about it consciously. Sleep allows no room for thought. The mind empties itself. The weight of the day is not carried forward. Tomorrow does not yet exist. Yesterday has dissolved into memory. Now there is only this darkness. At a certain point, although the darkness remains the same in appearance, the air begins to change in quality. This change does not arrive with light. First, the coolness deepens. Stone grows slightly colder to the touch. This cold passes inward through the walls. The body feels it, but does not wake from it. This sensation signals that the night is advancing toward its conclusion. With this coolness, the city begins to shape itself again. It is not yet visible, but it prepares. As the end of the night approaches, the silence shifts. It becomes deeper, but also thinner, carrying a tension as if it might soon break. This tension is not disturbing. It is familiar from countless previous mornings. Far away, a sound is heard that cannot yet be defined clearly. It belongs neither to day nor to night, but to a time in between. It might be a door opening, it might be a step, it might be an animal moving. On its own, the sound carries no particular meaning, but if another follows it, the approach of morning is understood. Before waking occurs, the city gives such small signs. None of them are sufficient alone, but together they form a transition. The body is still asleep, but sleep is no longer deep. It has lightened. Dreams blur and lose their shape. The mind slowly begins to perceive its surroundings again. The presence of the walls, the limits of the room, very faint sounds from above or below. These do not rise into full awareness, but they thin the line between sleep and waking. This line represents the first moment of morning. The eyes do not open yet. There is no movement yet. But the day has begun to make itself felt once more. The city shares this moment of transition. The same streets, the same stones, the same doors wait to enter the cycle again. Night has completed its task. Day has not yet arrived. This short time in between belongs neither to sleep nor to full wakefulness. It is only transition. This transition happens every day. It is not special because it is continuous. Life is the sum of these transitions. After a while, the color of the sky changes very slightly. This change is not seen from inside the room, but it is felt. The air stirs a little. The city prepares to breathe again. The body does the same. A muscle tightens slightly, a deeper breath is taken. One does not rise yet, but the night is now fully over. The day stands at the door. At this point, the narrative does not end, because this day, like the ones before it, will begin again. From the same silence, from the same habit, between the same stones, the city will wake again, the body will rise again, and this cycle will continue quietly for another day. Morning arrives as silently as the previous day ended. The coolness that gathered in the stone overnight is still present. Walls, roads, and doors remain where they were left. Only the texture of the air has changed. It is slightly lighter in quality, slightly more mobile. There is still no light, but the darkness is no longer as heavy as it was. The body perceives this difference. Before the eyes open, breathing changes, it becomes steadier. The chest rises and falls more easily. Sleep can no longer hold on to the body, but wakefulness is not yet complete. Between the two states exists a short, familiar pause. During this pause, the mind focuses on nothing. There is no thought forming and no plan taking shape. There is only a sense of being present, the limits of the room, the density of the darkness, the points where the body meets the ground. These are not consciously perceived, but they are present. As it does every day, the body quietly gathers this information. Time is not measured. The day is not called for. Morning exists because it makes itself felt. At a certain moment, muscles move slightly, fingers twitch, feet sense the ground again beneath them. These movements are not intentional. They are the result of habit written into the body. The same firm surface, the same covering, the same air. Everything is familiar. Familiarity removes both fear and hesitation. Waking is not a decision that is made. It is a natural step of continuity. When the eyes finally open, the room is still dark, but this darkness no longer belongs to night. It is thinner, more permeable. From outside, the presence of an approaching light is felt, though it is not yet distinct. The window opening takes on a gray tone. This tone is the first visual sign that the day has begun. The body recognizes it. It has recognized it many times before. The body rises slowly from its resting place. Movements are once again measured. The room has not changed during the night. Objects remain where they were placed. This constancy lightens the weight of beginning the day. There is no need to rearrange anything, no need to learn the space again. Everything is ready, clothes are within reach, shoes remain in their designated place. The day continues from where the previous day left off. When standing fully upright, the cold of the stone is felt again. This sensation is the same as the morning before, neither harsher nor softer. The body is adjusted to it through repetition. A hand rests briefly against the wall. Balance is found. This movement has nearly become automatic, written into the body through daily repetition. The first sounds from outside are very faint. A distant step somewhere, the creak of a door before it opens, perhaps the movement of an animal in the street. These are not yet the full sounds of morning, but they announce that morning will come. As it does every day, the city prepares itself with small signs. Nothing begins suddenly. Everything advances in layers. There is no hurry while dressing. Hurry is unnecessary. The day will flow at its own pace. It cannot be accelerated through effort. The tunic is adjusted over the body. The belt is tied as it was yesterday. The same will be done today. Shoes are put on carefully. Their soles are still firm. The streets require this firmness. The same preparation is repeated every morning. This repetition shortens the experience of time. There is no need to think about what comes next. Before turning toward the door, the room is felt one last time. It is small but sufficient for its purpose. It is not compared to the openness outside. Comparison is not made. The room is enough for this moment. When the door opens, the cool air of the outside enters. The room reconnects with the city. This connection is renewed every morning, but always in the same way. The descent down the stairs begins. The steps are familiar to the feet. It is known where they are more worn. The foot does not calculate where to land. The body knows through repetition. As one descends, sounds increase in number, but they are still limited. The city has not fully awakened. It has only opened its eyes. Stepping into the street, the sky is now lighter than before. The color is still pale but steady. Light has begun to touch the higher points of the city. Lower areas remain in shadow. This contrast is the most familiar state of morning. The streets are still narrow, the stones are still in their place, but everything is ready for a new day to unfold. As the first steps are taken, the fatigue of yesterday is not felt. The night has dissolved it completely. The body is fresh, but this freshness is not excitement. It is calm. It is balance. The walk begins. The pace is set again, neither fast nor slow, a pace suited to the city's morning rhythm. Passing by a bakery, the fire has burned through the night. The smell of bread spreads through the air. This scent is one of the most reliable signs of morning. It is no different from yesterday's scent, but it is welcome the same way each day. It signals that the day can begin. It reminds those who smell it that life continues. As the morning settles once more into its familiar rhythm, the city resumes its quiet labor. The early hours do not belong to urgency, but to repetition. Doors open again as they did yesterday. Steps echo again on the same stones. The same paths are taken, not because they are deliberately chosen, but because they are known. The body moves without resistance. It does not hurry. It does not linger. It simply follows what has been done before. The streets carry this familiarity easily. Stone remembers footsteps from countless previous mornings. Walls remember the shadows that have passed. Nothing needs to be explained. Nothing needs to be decided. The day unfolds as it always has, guided by habit rather than intention. This sameness is not dull or boring. It is steady. It supports the body the way the ground supports the feet. As the hours pass quietly, the city breathes in small, almost unnoticeable ways. A breeze moves briefly through an alley, stirring nothing, then disappears. A sound rises somewhere in the distance, then fades before it can draw attention. These moments do not interrupt rest. They soften it. The mind does not follow them with interest. It allows them to pass without notice. People continue to move within this calm without marking time. There is no need to know how long something takes. Tasks are completed when they are completed. Waiting fills the spaces in between. This waiting is not empty or wasted. It carries weight gently without pressure. The body remains present but relaxed. As the sun slowly shifts its position again, light finds new surfaces to touch. It settles briefly, then moves on. The change is gradual enough that it does not ask to be noticed. Shadows stretch outward, then shorten, then stretch again. The city does not resist these changes. It has learned to hold them. Movement continues at an even pace. There is no clear beginning to effort and no clear end. The body does not measure itself against the day. It simply stays within it. Breath remains steady. Muscles remain loose. Thought drifts without direction, then fades altogether. Later, as the day softens once more, the sounds of activity thin out again. What remains is not silence, but space. Space between sounds, space between steps, space between thoughts. The city opens this space naturally, without effort. People occupy this openness without needing to fill it. Sitting, standing, passing through, all are equal actions. No action demands completion. No moment demands meaning. The day holds everything gently, allowing the body to rest even while it moves. As evening approaches again, familiarity deepens. The repetition of the cycle no longer feels like return, but like continuation. Nothing has truly stopped. Nothing has truly started. The city flows forward, carrying each moment into the next without pause. The body follows this flow easily. There is no resistance now, no anticipation, only presence. Light dims, sound settles, movement slows into stillness without effort. The city prepares once more to release the day, and the body, held within this rhythm, follows naturally.